AWS presents The Retail Room, cracking the next frontier of growth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I'm Swati Shahi, and it is my absolute pleasure to have you all with us here for AWS Presents The Retail Room, cracking the next frontier of growth in association with CNBC-TV18.com. Now, retail has always been a business of understanding people. But today, what has fundamentally changed is the speed at which those people change. Customer expectations evolve overnight, demand shifts in real time, supply chains face constant disruption, and competitive advantage is no longer determined by who has the biggest footprint, but by who can make the smartest decisions the fastest. For years, business have relied on data to understand the past. Today, with generative AI, they are beginning to predict what's next. And with the emergence of Agentic AI, we're entering an entirely new phase, where intelligent systems won't just analyze information or assist people, but will increasingly execute tasks, coordinate decisions, and automate complex workflows with minimal human intervention. This isn't another technology cycle. It represents a fundamental shift in how businesses will be built and how they will operate. In fact, according to AWS's latest Generative AI Adoption Index, more than 80% of organizations in India have already appointed dedicated AI leaders. Now, that's a powerful signal that AI has moved beyond innovation labs and pilot projects. It is now shaping boardroom conversations, investment priorities, and long-term business strategy. For retailers, the opportunity is especially profound. AI is transforming every part of the value chain, from forecasting demand and optimizing inventory to personalizing customer expectations and experiences, empowering employees, and creating entirely new operating models. The organizations that will lead tomorrow won't necessarily be the ones with the most data. They'll be the ones that know how to turn that data into intelligence and that intelligence into action. Against this backdrop, ladies and gentlemen, AWS Presents The Retail Room brings together some of the country's leading technology and business minds to explore what it truly takes to build intelligent, resilient, and AI-native enterprises. Through the course of this evening, we'll hear firsthand how organizations are moving beyond experimentation, scaling AI responsibly, and, of course, reimagining the future of retail through cloud, data, and innovation. Thank you once again for joining us. We hope you find today's conversations insightful, thought-provoking, and above all, actionable. And now to formally open today's event, it is my absolute pleasure to invite Rajiv Singh, Director and Business Head, AWS India and South Asia, to deliver the opening address. A huge round of applause for him, please.
Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. And it's amazing to see a room full of people, brands that serve millions of consumers in India. So thank you for what you do for each one of us, including me. Expectations of today's consumer can be daunting. Customers can have very high expectation. Today's in digital economy, people have zero tolerance. So thank you for what you do every day, solving complexity behind that 5-second click in an app. So kudos to all of you. Let me set the context. This Indian retail economy is expected to be around 2.5 trillion by 2035. And nearly 150 million consumers are expected to be added to this digital economy. Now, this opportunity is huge. It's massive. But so are the challenges. The customers expect special treatment. They expect personalized experiences. They expect seamless interaction with various challenges, various channels. They expect on-time delivery. And they also expect greater trust with brands. Whereas you, as brands, face a different challenge. You have cost pressures. You have supply chain complexities. And you have challenge, which is very new, where a competition can mushroom up from anywhere. Today, you can see brands which can become a 100 crore brand in 3 months. So So these are challenges that you all face. Add to it the complexity of technology, where tech is changing. Now the AI models are possibly changing every week. You go out and think that, okay, I'll have this kind of AI strategy, tech strategy, and the world has moved. It reminds me of possibly the era when the physics was getting transformed in early 1900s. And I just wanted to start with a story of the greatest scientist of our time, Albert Einstein. In 1930s, he was teaching at Oxford, and he assigned a paper. He gave a question paper to second-year students for the final exams. Now, that question paper, he gave it to his assistant and said, hey, just distribute this question paper. The assistant comes back running 5 minutes later, and he says, hey, professor, there's some mistake. He said, what? He said, questions are exactly same as last year's questions. And Albert Einstein smiles and says, yes, the questions are same, but the answers have changed because physics had changed. And this is exactly how the retail industry, CPG industry also is. Our questions have remained the same. Still, how do I know my customer better? How do I deliver right product at right time, at right place? And how do I build trust, loyalty that lasts? The questions have remained the same, but the answer in 2026 has changed. The answers today live at the intersection of cloud, data, and AI. And if you look at today, what is a customer delight that you all thrive for? Customer delight for me are threefold. One, when a customer is felt understood, he feels served, and he feels heard. That means the feedback is also given. That's when I feel delighted. For example, if I go to order a food while watching a football match, I'll go and order, I'll open a Swiggy app, and somehow Swiggy knows that I want a biryani before I know that I want a biryani. And it feels like magic. Similarly, if I want to return a product and at a click of a button, the refund comes in my account, that's delight. Right? Now that interaction of few seconds on an app gives you delight, but what goes behind is an extraordinary complexity working in harmony. Somebody at the back end, some tool at the back end is solving for you in demand planning, predicting what a customer will want, in which location, at which pin code, based on weather conditions, based on local events that are happening, what's trending. And retailers who do this have really saved immense cost. Second, somebody at the back end is working about personalization, not knowing about what you bought, but why you bought. Because next time, when you're browsing, going to the app, it can predict what product should be positioned to you. And third is, of course, fulfillment. Somebody is delivering that product at right time, within committed time to you at your doorstep. And finally, the supply chain. Knowing where your inventory is, at what location that inventory is. Is it in transit? Has it been out of stock? Can it be replenished? Because remember, if I go and order something on Nykaa for my wife, and it says out of stock, it's not a supply chain problem, guys. It's a domestic problem, which I need to solve for the next 3 days. Right? So this is something where the entire world of digitization, giving personalized experience, can be solved through data, AI, and cloud. And today's enterprises, which will conquer this era, will be organizations who will build, reimagine, and build these innovation natively on AI and data and cloud. Not organizations who will be embedding or putting AI on top of their existing processes. So we have seen organizations who have really used these AI perfectly in their such supply chain, demand planning, personalization, have saved millions of dollars. And we work with global customers to help them solve these problems, complex problems at the back end. Now, where does in all this AWS stand? AWS, we want to be the foundation you build on. We want to be your transformation partner. We want to be your partner which helps you build supply chain which is predictive and not reactive. We want to empower your employees who are unlocking their productivity by use of AI tools. This is something that as AWS, we aspire to be the real engine behind your growth. With that initial note, I just wanted to set the agenda that we have terrific set of speakers today, where we will be exploring what's the new frontier that we can conquer as a team. As I said, the questions remain the same. We have such an esteemed panel, and with all of you in the room and esteemed panelists on the stage that will follow, we will try to find answers to those questions in today's era. With that, Shruti, back to you, and let's begin. Thank you, guys.
Well, we now move on to our first session of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, which is on retail's new planning playbook. Now, planning is no longer driven by historical trends alone. It's becoming predictive, dynamic, and increasingly powered by AI. Now, this discussion will explore how leading enterprises are building the next generation of planning capabilities through cloud, data, and intelligent decision-making.
Now, AI is fundamentally changing the way businesses plan. Decisions that once took days are now being made in minutes, powered by cloud computing, real-time data, and increasingly intelligent AI models. Now, whether it's predicting consumer demand, managing inventory, optimizing supply chains, or improving customer experiences, planning today has become easy, it has become dynamic, and the question now no longer is whether organizations should adopt AI, but how they can quickly scale it. So let me quickly dive in, and let me start with you, Oshada. At Brandix, digital platforms like Flow create real-time visibility across manufacturing, across planning, across supply chains. And looking back, what has been the biggest shift, from reactive planning to predictive planning, and how much of that transformation really has been enabled by AI and cloud technologies?
I think the main shift has been to shift from a rear view mirror in terms of information and moving on to more practical, pragmatic aspect where from a signal point of certain changes being made, how do you accelerate that decision point? And I'll give an example. For us, it's not just the factory flow. The planning starts upstream from a point a customer gives a projection. Now, due to the volatility of supply chain and volatility due to different black swan events, that projections has been really volatile. And what meant on that front was that the factory planning also has a bullwhip effect. So for us, it has been not just creating real-time dashboards, but how do you get real-time data which is decision-ready at the right person's viewpoint. And that's been a real challenge, but AI has come into play on that front where we've been dabbling with the data sets to understand exactly how this scenario could be dissected. Now I'll give an example. An order coming in could immediately change on the short sight point where 100,000 pieces of garments that's expected next month could come down to 20,000. Now, what effect does it have on the plants where all of the line balancing is done? And if you look at a plant planner, you can't expect the traditional way of planning to take effect, and certain aspects of data would go amiss, and actually we are selling time, Shruti. Right? We are actually selling time and capacity. So we've worked really hard in bringing AI components into that data engineering front that we have, and a lot of changes has been made. But the real challenge has been how do you do the change management to ensure that people use that data to make the right decisions. Absolutely.
And, before I go to the other panelists, one follow-up question, how close are organizations really today to achieving a genuine single source of truth? And by that, what I mean is that everyone from procurement teams, manufacturing teams, sales, finance, are all looking at the same accurate up-to-speed data.
I think it's a of a journey to get into a single point of view for the simple reason that there's multiple touch points going in logistics, shipping, your own supplier data points that has to come into play. And it's never been a integration science that's been the problem, right? Integration science has been solved, but it's a multi-organizational problem that you need to crack at it, where if you don't own the data, and how assured are you to trust it? And it's just a whim where you move on to Excel sheets and the data sets that you trust versus whatever AI perspectives that you bring in. So again, I think every organization has their own journey towards getting into that single window, single source of truth, but there's a lot of layers of challenges you have to look at, Shruti, from layers and layers of legacy data to cleansing but look, AI has come into play to accelerate and provide velocity that we need to basically get you to that point.
So those
it's a
days
journey.
okay, it's a journey.
It's a journey so far.
All right. Okay, Vikram, let me quickly come to you now. You know, you've led technology transformation across some of the region's largest retail organizations. You've seen, you know, technological transformation change. Tell us how at your organization, the whole technology transformation that you've done is really helping the quality and the speed at which business decisions are being made today.
If you look at retail on the one side, as I think, Shruti, you said earlier, and Sanjeev alluded to it much earlier, that there's a lot of demand for nimbleness and speed. Okay, that's one very important aspect that has come in. On the one hand, businesses want nimbleness and speed. On the other hand, they also want good decision making, meaning they need information available in a very real time mode to be able to take quick decisions and be able to, for example, I think Sanjeev talked about fulfillment. And fulfillment today, I am delivering in a certain fashion. Tomorrow, I may want to suddenly decide and deliver, in a quick commerce kind of a fashion. And you take examples of businesses that are delivering, you know, both forms of delivery, quick and non-quick, so to say. On the one hand, that's what's happened, right? Retailers getting pushed. On the other hand, technology has evolved, right, at a very large scale. And I'm going to just talk about what's this done to businesses and then how they have decided to transform. Yeah. So technologies have come in. There's been the whole startup ecosystem where a lot of, and technologies enabled people to develop open source based microservices, etc., capabilities that are small but readily available. This has then come together with technology on the one hand and the demand for nimbleness and speed and visibility on the other hand, has helped businesses say that, okay, I will now come together and develop a kind of architecture where I can easily take a capability from one technology to today I want to use that, tomorrow I use a different one, day after I use a different one, and be able to very easily change. This is where the whole business transformation bit comes into play, that technocrats or people who are designing systems then have to think for businesses from a futuristic point of view. So you don't want to be rigid and stuck to one way of working, and that's what transformations, and that's what this whole thing comes together.
So would you agree that the role of the CIO has also evolved from just managing technology to now influencing business strategy as well?
Oh yes, influencing me, being a partner to a business strategy, I would say to a large extent. Technology is very much in the boardroom discussions, it's in the strategy discussions, because tech today is enabling and it is driving a lot of the decision making, even for business. That's the core.
All right. Let me go across to you now, Amit. Amit, Rebel Foods operates one of the world's largest internet restaurant companies where, thousands of operational decisions happen every year. You've previously, spoken about and you forecasted accuracy of nearly 90% using machine learning. As AI models now today become more accurate, tell us, where does human judgment really outperform algorithms?
Everyone is answering on AI. I have to
sure, go ahead. Start with
put
that.
on the
yes.
human angle. So there's good news, of course. Humans are not out of the market.
That's good news, yes.
Yeah. So first, let me define, actually the job of human starts that 90% and accuracy. So first, define those terms. What are those actually? Because it's like too much overloaded. Forecasting accuracy or 90%. So forecasting accuracy in our business scenario or our domain, it's multiple areas, whether it's demand forecasting for manufacturer or let's say at the kitchen or store level, the pre-preparation of material or thawing material. So there are multiple touch points where forecasting is happening. And the accuracy 90%, one number cannot justify it because how are you measuring it? 90% is
Yes.
what, right? If my signature dish goes out of the stock at 8 p.m., let's say, which is the peak time, versus some non-critical dish going out, it's not the same thing. So that 90%, how do we define that 90%? So first, you have to define these in the right terms. That's where the human starts, because on top of it, you will build the model, and the model will always optimize for the loss function which you have given it to it, right? So it will always be biased. So you have to define it correctly. Then, of course, regime change. There are a lot of things which can happen. Down the road, your competitor has opened the store. The AI model will not know immediately, or let's say it will take certain time to know. They're like match is happening, or local promotional offer which has happened in the morning. There could be multiple things. Road is closed.
So can you share with us one example where AI perhaps has surprised your own operations team by identifying a trend that humans perhaps missed, or vice versa?
So absolutely, see, these things, whether it's a regime change or let's say cold start, if you're opening a new store, if you're launching a new brand, new product, you don't have data. Till the time you don't have enough data. So we have a lot of kitchens where the data is still sparse. It's not that much dense. So the accuracy of AI is not that much great out there. So the human is still needed. Of course, once, so let me define, see, ML forecasting or driven by AI forecasting, it's like future rhymes with the past. It's an argument. It will rhyme with the past correctly when it has seen those things in the past and same thing is happening.
Yes,
Or on
yes.
similar pattern it's happening. If something is new out of the pattern, that's where first human
You need a
involvement
human intervention. All right.
comes, yeah.
Let me go across to Nitin there. Nitin, healthcare may not traditionally be viewed as retail, but, patient experience also depends on planning, speed, and operational precision. And Indira IVF is using IoT to monitor more than 200 critical medical devices across centers. So tell us how our IoT, how's, AI and real-time monitoring, changing operational planning, but most importantly, without compromising clinical judgment.
Yeah, thanks, Shruti, for inviting me here and be a part of this session. 200 is not the number of devices. We have 234 clinical chains,
Okay.
clinical clinics all across the country. So even I am not aware if it is 200 sensors. But
Okay.
the critical point being, on the planning side for the industry like healthcare. Now, for us, cold storage or medicines and other devices are to be taken in time, and we don't have luxury of selling it on a sale.
Yes.
There is nothing called that. Plus, the quality matters. So, the right quality stuff at the right time in the right clinics is what we have to plan. What has changed over a period of time is. It used to be like a monthly planning thing. Now, the decision being very fast because of edge. When I say edge, it means the local person can take the decision because of the data availability and all these cloud things support us. Maybe a less glamorized use case of AI, but still, data being available for them to take the decision on planning is what is the differentiator now compared to what it was before.
Sure, but where do you draw the line between AI-assisted decisions and then doctor-led decisions?
Yeah, that's no, it's a very good question, because in healthcare we cannot rely on AI beyond a certain point. The clinicians, they will decide the measurement parameters, they'll decide the boundary condition, and human always will act upon it. Where AI would give us inputs is probably those parameters. Now, let's say a quality check to be done in a clinic, the parameters of air quality, lab parameters, temperature, carbon dioxide, and everything. AI may give those parameters to us. The human would read it and then take an action. We are also having, assisted reproductive treatment guardrails in which we have to operate. there we need to have humans who are trained professionals to take those decisions. What has changed is, like I said, the data latency, the time in which it is available to people to take decision is very less. That is where I feel a big differentiator now.
All right. Okay, let me go across to Satinder here. You know, the industry conversation has clearly changed from AI experimentation to enterprise-wide deployment. In fact, AWS's latest generative AI adoption index shows that nearly every Indian organization is sort of experimenting with AI, but only about half of AI experiments are expected to make it to production, Satinder. So what separates organizations really, you know, that are successfully scaling AI and that who are actually stuck in just, you know, pilot modes?
I think over the last couple of years, me and my team have worked with customers and seen maybe hundreds to thousands of deployments. And if you look at success factors, there are few, but starkly there are two things that is pretty consistent in our learnings. The first one is the technical part. And let me explain. I think when this whole AI-related excitement came through, there was a disproportionate focus on the science aspect of it. But increasingly, we are seeing that customers who are focused on engineering aspect of it are the ones who are more successful. So when we created Bedrock 2.5 years back, you know, we said there is no one model that is going to rule it all. And at that time, there was a level of skepticism. But today, if I ask you, any one of you, you would know that. There is no one model, and you will have a, you know, combination of multiple models, which means that the disproportionate focus on science has to go to engineering. So what are the aspects of engineering? You know, there are few. So if you look at increasingly capabilities that you get inspired by from AI, you know, there is an underlying phenomena, which is, you know, moving from prompt engineering to context engineering to harness engineering to loop engineering. So if you see all of them, they contain this word engineering because these are the engineering aspects that you need to consider. So that's number one. Number two is cultural. With the capabilities that agents are able to do, I think the ones that we see customers getting sufficient ROI is not having an AI bolt-on, but reimagining their workflows and their processes using agents. Because trust me, you'll be surprised.
Yes, so that brings me to my next question. What is the biggest misconception that CXOs have really that, you know, when they think of AI transformation?
I think the biggest, I won't say misconception, but the thing that they have to really consider is the cultural aspect. You know, the fact that you need to reimagine your business processes. And that is also supported by the evidence that you were talking about. When Generative AI Index said 80% of the customers have appointed a chief AI officer.
Yes.
What is the reason? What is that telling us? The signal that it is telling us is while the tech is there, you know, you need to reimagine your business process. So it has to be a top-down approach rather than a bottoms-up approach.
Absolutely. And, you know, across industries, data volumes are exploding, yet many organizations still struggle with fragmented systems. So if AI is only as good as the data it receives, is data now actually becoming a bigger competitive advantage than AI models themselves, whoever, like
so
Vikram?
Shruti,
Yeah.
let me comment on the last conversation,
Sure.
right? I'll share my view about how organizations are going about adopting AI. I think we have a lot of discussion around the hype of AI, and people start to look at more complex use cases. And I heard the gentleman say, you know, reimagine your business processes. Now, if you look at a business, slightly contrarian view to that, if you look at businesses, they've been running, you know, successful businesses have been running for 10, 15 years, yes, you know, doing this stuff fantastically well. They know their product, they know how to manufacture, they know how to design, they know how to fulfill. They've been doing all of that, right? With this new technology, if you start disrupting them and asking them to reimagine the way they work, you're going to get a major pushback. And that's where I would say the approach we have taken, right, is very tactical in the sense that, for example, I'm a retailer, right? We design product and then we manufacture it and then we sell it. In design, very simply, right? We had designers who actually design product, you know, use their creative energy to design a product. today we are using AI to give me the first set of products,
Correct, yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm speeding up my delivery fantastically well. On an e-commerce website, for example, I am creating my content through a lot of it through AI, most of it, in fact, through AI. So I feel that the approach is to be very tactical to begin with, and then once you get into the whole momentum and we're able to enhance speed, then we start looking at the larger pieces, which is what you talked about, changing your planning processes, looking at forecasting. So that's my view, that you go bottom up rather than go top down.
Okay, so that's two contrarian views, right? Okay, all right. Ushada, global supply chains remain volatile. We have seen geopolitical disruptions. We are seeing changing consumer demands as well. And has AI finally made supply chains resilient? Is that true? Because are we still reacting to disruptions rather than predicting them? And how close are enterprises today to achieving real-time visibility across, operations, inventory, supply chains? And what are the biggest hurdles? If not, then what are the biggest hurdles?
Yeah, Shruti. So, look, AI is not a silver bullet to thwart ourselves against black swan events, for example, the geopolitical scenarios that's coming in. That's truly black swan events. But if you really look at the supply chain point, I'll give an example from our view. Our raw materials that's coming in fabric, you just can't merely go order fabric. You have to go to the yarn stage and the grage. Grage is basically the raw cut form of undyed, untouched raw material. So when you look at it from AI perspective, to the point that I earlier said, the volatility in terms of projections, customer projections can immediately change due to that market volatility, right? And what AI could do is to give us how would a particular supplier perform against a particular type of requirement that's coming in? How could a line balancing be reimagined quite fast rather than basically being reactive to it? Now, what we've seen is, again, when a projection comes in from a customer, that particular marketing team will go and book that amount of time from a particular factory. For example, I might say, look, I need 100,000 standard actual hours booked for my projection coming from this customer.
Yes.
Now, if this is going to change within the last couple of weeks, as the head of the factory or the head of operations, what I need to know is, okay, how fast can I basically move what demand in to basically leverage on the opening. Yes. Now, forever we've been doing this quite manually to hand on heart, this is what has happened, Shruti, right? And it's driven on just intuition. And when you drive it on intuition, it's very reactive. For example, I might say in haste, look, let's bring this order into this factory, where you might not even think that the core competencies of that factory might not relate to it. Now what happens? The efficiency has a significant impact, right? When the efficiency has a significant impact, our on-time delivery has an impact, and again, it keeps on, it's a bullwhip effect that comes in. So AI for us, we've rolled out agents in a very controlled environment, for example, to really test this hypothesis, and we're doing some backcasting also, Shruti, because if anything goes wrong, for us, it's not like you can run to the suppliers and say, I need another 100,000 yards of black fabric, for example.
So what's the solution then?
The solution is pretty much, while we continue to train these AI models, we basically bring the human in the loop to make sure that we synthesize this and get it to a certain point. Now, interestingly, I'll give an example. Today, we are at a very exciting stage where the product plan matrix runs on AI to see what product order should go to what plant. And we've had an 11% increase on the efficiency. Now, what that 11% increase in efficiency means is, if you look at the standard actual hours, it could be even putting brick and mortar plants of 3x more, right? So with the same overhead, we've literally put 3 more plants of capacity.
Correct.
Right, and that's one aspect of it. And the on-time delivery, I mean, that's critical for our supplier ranking as well when you look at the global customers, and that has also gone up. So that is a few examples that come in, but again, AI cannot resolve each and every issue. Specifically, geopolitical fronts are quite daunting, but I think, as Vikram also told, I think it's a transformational viewpoint that you have to bring in to see, okay, what tactfully can you bring into this new stack of technology at a controlled approach. I don't think that you can continue to bootstrap and throw AI into it. But here's the interesting point, Shruti. we've been able to build MVPs parallelly and crashing that typical approach to building products. So what we do is MVPs goes in. Are they scalable? Absolutely not. But is it working on a controlled environment across
Yes.
multiple plants? Yes. We basically bring that into the engineering front, the architecture review boards and all that. And guess what? Rather than going through typical cycles of business analysis or specs, now suddenly you have a working model, you bake it and ensure that it's more production ready.
Absolutely. Great insights there, and thank you for those examples that you gave us. Again, Amit, coming to you, Rebel Foods processes millions of customer interactions and, operational decisions every day. Beyond forecasting demand, how is AI really helping you make decisions faster, operations faster, and at scale? And what lessons can really a traditional retailer take from this kind of an approach? Give us a lot of examples there.
Yeah. So I'll change the first question a little bit. So forecasting is a prediction problem, right? But running kitchens, thousands of kitchens at a scale, or so many transactions at a scale, is a decision problem, right? And I'll connect to earlier questions as well, whether data is important or AI is gone beyond that, or traditional ways of operating models versus new one. So in our case, for example, as I said, forecasting is prediction and AI decision. So how do we reduce the decision latency? Now everyone has dashboards, everyone has data. They are seeing multiple reports, multiple dashboards and all that in real time. But what to do about this, right? So that's where all these micro interactions which are happening in decision making, in running the operations, how can we optimize those and AI take the decisions for very, let's say, high frequency one, but not disrupting like business in a big way. So that's where we have done a lot of work, like in kitchen, for example. When the multiple orders have come in hundreds of kitchen, hundreds of orders from multiple brands, in what sequence the chef or let's say the person, because we don't have skilled chefs in our kitchen, we have just trained staff, they should prepare the dish, right? It should be first in, first out, or how much time that this requires for preparation, where is the rider, whether it will get hot to the customer and all that. So all these decisions cannot be taken humanly. So to prepare that dish, till the dispatch, till the routing, everything is being done by machine learning out there.
Sure, Amit, but can AI move beyond predicting customer behavior to actually influencing it through hyper-personalization and dynamic pricing?
Well, absolutely. Means also when Rajiv said that example he took, right, that when he was watching match, he wanted to order food, open Swiggy. I was a little upset that he didn't say biryani, Behrouz biryani, because he wanted to celebrate at that time. So how can we get there first, right? It's a celebratory time. So hyper-personalization, of course, is going to play a big role in making or influencing certain decisions. At the end of the day, the choices will be with customers, right? We cannot force it, but how can we personalize it and delight the customer with all the interactions? So that's where it will come.
Vikram, you'd like to add to this?
I'm kind of echoing the same point that Amit said, that hyper-personalization, of course, with the help of AI, you know our customer's history, and that comes down to the whole data piece, single source of truth. Do you have this customer's data? And then how well, effectively are you able to use it and leverage AI on top of it? And that's the core point here.
All right, now let me shift focus a bit. A recent study found that while organizations are accelerating investments in AI and digital transformation, the biggest barrier actually to scaling these initiatives is no longer technology, it's talent, leadership, and organizational readiness. Vikram, for your experience, what shifts in leadership, culture, or skills are essentially for building truly future-ready planning organizations?
So I think the first skill that anyone needs to learn, or let me take a step back. I am what you call as a Gen X person, right? And with AI coming in, engineering, development, software development has taken a big hit, so to say,
Yes.
right, with AI coming in. The natural question, and since I have grown up the ranks as a programmer, my first reaction to this is like, this is crap. I know how to program well and I know how to do this well. What's this going to do for me, right?
Yeah.
But I think over time, I have also realized that life can get a lot faster, a lot more efficient. So I think the first skill that anyone needs to learn as a leader is to embrace this. Okay, I think that's the first thing. The second thing I would say that people need to think about is AI is kind of this umbrella over us. It's hovering around our head and saying, let's use AI, it can do a lot. Coming back to my previous point that you have to be tactical, but I would say start with the end in mind. Okay, so be clear about what problem you're trying to solve, and then you can decide whether AI is the right solution for it or not, and then the whole agentic is coming in a lot, so it's going to help you solve your problems. But first, define your problem statement very well first. Be clear about what objectives you want to achieve. So I think from a skill set point of view, this is what it is. From a leadership point of view, embrace it and understand it better so that you can leverage it.
And how do you convince business teams to sort of trust AI to the kind of recommendations that it's giving you?
That's a very good question. So I think the way to approach this is to start with, don't ask businesses to adopt decision making by AI. Start by saying, what's my efficiency improvement out here? So I can do something a lot faster. I'm taking planning decisions today. I'll continue to take planning decisions, but I'm going to be able to get a lot more data points into that decision and be able to crunch a lot larger size of data and be able to give it to people faster. So start with the whole efficiency aspect. Once people see efficiency, I think the shift will be very naturally be that I will take some of the decisions and then I will kind of adopt. And a simple example of that is, you take a ChatGPT. I'll use very basic, most basic example. We all started by asking questions to ChatGPT and saying that, hey, tell me about this. And it helped me get information a lot faster. But today, if you realize, and everyone in the room, I'm sure, is actually taking those decisions that ChatGPT is telling them and actually using it to make their own decisions.
Yes.
So it's a slow adoption of speed, and then it'll naturally kind of go up into adopting the decision.
All right, okay. Nitin, trust is everything in healthcare, and the same increasingly, of course, applies to AI. And as AI becomes more deeply embedded in decision making, how do you organizations ensure transparency, explainability, and most importantly, customer trust?
So first of all, just change in definition for us, since we are deal in healthcare and
Yes.
that too specifically in IVF, we don't call it customer. We call it just the patient or the people who have been denied parenthood for some reason.
Sure.
Right. So customer changes the canvas altogether. For such set of people, we have to demonstrate our processes, our interaction to gain the trust. That is the first and foremost layer. And this can be done by showing the empathy, because any couple whom who has been in this journey goes through a lot of trauma. There is a lot of anxiety, failing cycles, what will happen, is it evasive? So all these things, when a doctor sits with them or a healthcare professional sits with them, the empathy that they show with them is the first entry to the trust thing. Then the transparency in progenesis, the clear indication of what the cost would be, and during the entire journey, which take months, how transparently we are communicating to them. This is what creates the trust in them. Now, all what we have heard of AI probably becomes the second part to us, all the data coming in, how we are communicating back to the people there. So to us, it's first layer, and that's the human angle.
It's always the human intervention,
It's always the human angle. The complementary thing can comes from all the data and the other parts. But trust comes from that element first.
All right. Satinder, I want to discuss something that you earlier also touched upon. The AWS's latest research has found that 83% of Indian organizations have already appointed dedicated AI leaders that you spoke of, signaling that AI is increasingly be viewed as a boardroom sort of priority rather than just an IT initiative. So if organizations could make just one investment over the next 2 years to strengthen capabilities, what would you prioritize?
If I have to pick only one, I'll go back to the discussion that we were having. Good data is good AI. And I think a fellow panelist also commented on it. Let me add another level of evidence to it. As we're thinking about, next frontiers of AIs, there are some bottlenecks, and they're typically called walls. There is a compute wall, memory wall, but there is a wall that I don't think so gets discussed very often, which is data wall. Let me explain that to you. There is a very famous scaling law called Chinchilla's law, scaling law. This was created in 22. What that law said, very simple, that for every one parameter, you require 20 tokens. Okay. Imagine if we had to build 1 trillion parameter model, it will require 20 trillion tokens. And just to put that in context, 20 trillion tokens is 7 times deduplicated common crawl data that is there on the internet. Right? So which means that, as models have to evolve their capability, they are hitting data wall. So where would models' intelligence would come from? It will come from data that they've never seen, which is the data that is lying in enterprise environments, which is your data, your private data. Harnessing that data becomes very, very important. And there are, technologies that can help you. It can start with common RAG patterns to something as simple, but yet very powerful as building your own SLMs. So when we say one model is not going to rule it all, the best model may be something that is purpose-built for you. So I'll say good data, good AI is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And, one final question, and this one's for all of you. We are entering an era where every company will eventually have access to similar AI models. So what will become the biggest competitive advantage over the next 5 years? Will it be, data, talent, culture, execution, or customer trust, and why? Nitin, should we start this way?
There's no clear one thing. It's a combination of everything. It's a data model, customer trust. It's the overall culture that we develop in an organization, and how, like the one question that you asked, how CXOs are accepting it. It goes from shop floor to top floor, and again from top to down, how we create that culture, and the combination of everything is where the competitive advantage for everybody would lie. Nobody knew 2 years back that we would enter into this world. Now all we talk is agentic AI. 2 years behind, we didn't even, we never heard such things. So how the adaptability to all these things are piloted instantly. And like we say, we fail fast, all those things we have to do. We have to build that culture, and cumulative of all of it, I feel, is going to be the differentiator.
Yeah, but then how do you differentiate? Because everybody will have access, Amit, to, similar sort of AI models. So how will you differentiate?
Well, if I may add, if you see sports, everything is accessible to everyone, the trainings and everybody. Still you have those star players. And because of the effort that they put, the grit that they do, and the commitment that is shown overall in terms of fitness and sports, learnings, training, I think that's the differentiator. Models will still be there, tech will be there, but people, how they'll create the differentiator within the organization, I think that will be differentiator. Beyond that, I cannot think.
Okay, Amit, do you agree with him?
See, AI or no AI, or tech or no tech, what customer wants, how can we delight them, how can we serve them better, how can we be closer to them. Of course, tech, AI gives us speed to do those things, do it consistently, do it in a better way, take competitive ways and all that. So, of course, and that's where the organization transformation, that how you are changing the culture with AI in the scene, right? That without that organizational change, that payoff will not come. If we take, let's say, for example, how do we reduce the decision latency? If we follow the same hierarchy to take the decision of anything, it's not going to pay off.
Correct.
Let the system take the decision, have that trust. Of course, you have to launch it after all the validation and all that, but that's the cultural change which is needed out there to take the advantage of scaling business.
Sure.
But to win, ultimately, it's the
customer trust, building customer trust. Yes, Vikram.
So I think two things that will help us get competitive advantage. I think one is clarity in decision making. So for an organization, like I'm in retail, and there are so many different things happening, both on the product design side, on the fulfillment side, right? Clarity in, and I'll take the example of fulfillment, where we are delivering to our customers through our e-commerce platforms every 3 days, 4 days delivery, whatever, 1 day, 2 days. Now there is a same day delivery, 30 minutes, 20 minutes delivery, right? For us, clarity in decision making, that do I want to get into this thing about 20-minute delivery or 30-minute delivery, or do I want to still stick to a certain longer? Okay. So clarity in decision as to where we want to go. That's one. Second thing I would say is organizations that build their architectures, that system architectures that are agile, which means this whole concept of agentic, being able to plug and play different things and be able to change your capabilities very easily. I think these are the two key points that give me competitive.
I think the major hurdle would be the cleanliness of data and how ready is your data, because there's no AI without having a rigor in terms of your data engineering pipeline as an organization. Two, I agree with Vikram, how ready is your systems, because while LLMs could be the brain, the hands and legs would be the AI agents, and there has to be certain aspects of API readiness and cloud readiness that has to come into play. But third most important thing is, what is the appetite of an organization to have a zero-based view on the current processes? Because if you don't do that, I don't think it makes sense to bring AI on top of legacy, decades and decades of old processes that has been designed for a non-technological or non-AI era. Last but not least, data literacy and AI literacy across the organization. And I think as much as we focus on technology, it's imperative that organizations put that same focus on ensuring that your organization's workforce is built up to that point.
Satinder, you agree with his last point, absolutely, right?
Yeah, completely. I think I'll just add two more. I, by the way, agree with all of them. The first one is with foundation. And foundation means technology, processes, culture that we've just talked about. And I'm not professing that, there is one size. Different customers will take different decisions. So that is one. And while setting up the right foundation, we got to also realize that, things are changing very, very fast. So some level of adaptability and ability to change things as things evolve is the second most important factor.
All right, on that note, it's time for me to wrap up our conversation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you for your invaluable insights. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to each one of you. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next session is a fireside conversation, which is titled Building an AI Native Company from Co-Pilots to Autonomous Businesses. As organizations move beyond AI-assisted workflows, the focus is shifting towards building enterprises where AI is embedded into the very fabric of the business. This conversation explores what it truly means to become AI native.
Over the past year, the AI conversation has definitely moved decisively beyond co-pilots and productivity tools. The bigger question now is whether companies can redesign their products, can redesign their workflows and organizational structures around AI, and eventually allow intelligent agents to execute parts of the business autonomously. And Cars24 describes itself not merely as an automotive marketplace using AI, but as a consumer AI company, building the infrastructure for vehicle ownership. Its latest quarterly report says AI is now being deployed across customer conversations, vehicle inspections, lending, software development, and hub operations as well. So let's explore what it really takes to become an AI native enterprise and what that journey looks like in practice. Manoj, Cars24, has always been a technology-led company, but over the last 1 year, the conversation seems to have shifted from using AI to becoming AI native. So how would you describe that whole journey, that evolution, and where are you in that journey today?
I think, Shruti, first of all, we are in that era of where cars were getting invented and there were naysayers who were saying that, it's a luxury, how can it replace a horse?
Yes.
It is a So all the wrong things were getting like sort of attributed to cars, and nobody thought that it will be able to replace horse cars, right? I think it's exactly the same with AI as well, right? Especially since December, I think the models have become extremely, extremely intelligent, and this is what we have been seeing in our org as well. You spoke about us becoming autonomous.
Yes.
I think it's more of a need than anything else. Retail, as all the gentlemen here will know, it is a very hard business. Used car retail more so. Why? Because it's a very high involvement purchase, right? It's a low gross margin business, and at the same time, the customer experience has to be sort of top notch for us to differentiate ourselves against the unorganized business, right? So we are in the business of building trust for buyers and sellers of used cars. While we have been able to scale because of the things that we have been able to do, the transparency that we have been able to build, I think one place we have struggled is how to find leverage in operations as well as we scale.
Yes.
I think AI gives us that opportunity to sort of finally find that leverage over the unorganized players. And this is exactly what we think now. I mean, this is a very short window, we feel, which exists, maybe of like 6 months to 1 year, where either organizations will have to sort of adapt, or sort of they're getting disrupted by a 20-year-old sitting in the dorm.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And this is not just a technological transformation. You know, does this require the company to think of its business model, rethink its business model entirely?
I think in the last like 6 months, one thing I think we are also in the learning phase, by the way.
Yes.
Right. So we don't have the luxury of like strategizing for like a year and then maybe realizing what would have happened if we had boarded the train. So what we have been doing very, very urgently, very, very earnestly is trying out different models, trying out ways to become truly autonomous. Being a tech company, we are always like automation first, right? For example, if you are buying when a seller comes to like sell their car, we know which cars to buy for us, which will be eventually be able to sell to the buyers, right? So that sort of automation already existed.
Yes.
But as soon as it becomes non-definitive in nature, right? Like how much negotiation you can do on that car, that is where I think now true leverage lies, right? And as you move down the chain, what kind of job card for a car can be created, right? I mean, right now it is human in the loop who sort of decides that this is the decision as far as refurbing that car is concerned, and then you have to wait for like 90 days for the results to come back, right? And each of the decisions can then, in current scenario, cannot be attributed to the eventual result. With agentic AI, I think now we do not have to wait for, or we do not have to like model the human agents to proxies. Instead of that, we can model them, an actual AI agent, to actual deliveries, which is whether the car got sold or not, what margins we got, it finally got sold to.
Yeah.
Right? Now, over the last 6 months, what we have realized is that, and we have also failed in the process, there are like 3 types of token spends that we have, right? First, I think when organizations start boarding this train, a lot of evangelization of AI happens. A lot of people start using chat, right? Suddenly they realize that they can build HTML, right? So the PDFs will go out of fashion, the Google Docs will go out of fashion, and then suddenly you have these beautiful HTMLs. Yeah. But I think it's a waste of like tokens, right? This we did for a long period of time, right? We also tried to build some co-pilots, which will help the humans make the decision. But at the end of the day, humans were restricted by not what agents could help them. Humans were restricted by what they cannot think or do, imagine, right?
Yes.
So, this is where we spent like about a month doing this. Then we realized that this is not what we want to build. We moved to a next level of token spend, which is building semi-autonomous agents. What it means is that we started replicating human flows, and we started expecting that this sort of autonomous, semi-autonomous world will give us better results. What we quickly realized is that it's easy to reach to 80%, 100% of comparative human results, but moving beyond that was becoming a challenge. Then we
brainstormed a lot on what superhuman agents could become.
Yeah.
Right? And all this lateral thinking led us to like speaking to a lot of people in Silicon Valley as well. What finally emerged was that workflow is a passe. Right? So Satinder was saying that you need to redesign workflows. I think there is no workflow if you think about agents, right? Agents are led by goals, right? Who are we to basically tell the agent that, you need to do this, that, to eventually basically get the result, right? In fact, imagine, like, I'll give you a simple scenario. Somebody will book a test drive on our website. Our human agent will call the customer and will try to convince the consumer to basically come to the hub and sort of do the test drive. We are also like heavily dependent on consumer finance. So it will also talk about consumer finance. We'll have a tool called Conversen where all these, all the conversation will get rated. We'll start tagging the conversation, right? And this is how we evaluate a human agent, right? We thought that, okay, this workflow can then be replicated by an AI agent, right? But who are we to basically tell the agent that you should talk about finance first, or you should basically talk about visiting the hub first, right? I think what truly this world provides us is an incredible opportunity to build AI agents which are directly linked to the final outcomes, right? A CC agent, you'll rate the CC agent on the conversation, but that might not be linked to the eventual outcome, which is, in our case, delivery or buying the car, right? This is what like led us to build completely autonomous systems. Now, to build them, I think one of the key things that we needed was, as somebody was saying in the last panel, was plumbing. What we wanted was data to be structured in a particular format, to be accessible by the agent, repos which are navigable, APIs which are made for agents and not for like humans or for app or for web. And this is where we have started seeing success now.
But I would like to cut you here, Manoj. Customers buying or selling a car is basically, they're making a high value, high anxiety decision. So how do you make an AI interaction feel sort of reassuring rather than personal? You're talking about making all this personal, but how do you reassure the customer without a human intervention?
So I'll try to like maybe explain it with an example. Humans are more robotic than AI agents, if you think about it.
That's
right?
a bold statement, yeah.
Right, so if you get credit card calls, right? You'll see they follow a pattern. Irrespective of what you're doing. Say somebody might be in a funeral and the credit card guy calls and that person will still talk about, sir, मैं आपको कब call कर सकता हूँ? Right, instead of like letting it be, right? I think human calls are far more robotic in nature. What AI helps you to do is, by the way, if you also think about it, human calls, some human agents who starts working at maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, by 12 o'clock, the agent is completely like jaded. The conversation quality drops, the passion drops, everything drops, right? That doesn't happen with an AI agent, by the way.
But what happens when an AI-supported valuation is challenged by a seller? How do you then explain, precisely that how was that sort of price reached?
In our case, we are anyways in a non-standard pricing product category, right? And we are always automated, right? So pricing anyways was automated.
Correct.
Right? It was basis some inspection report, and we used to put some attributes to that inspection report and create pricing, right?
But now you're giving AI that authority, right?
Now basically the AI agent can negotiate instead of a human agent, right? In fact, not negotiate, maybe explain the inspection report a little better than what we are able to do, right? With a lot more empathy, with a lot more clarity. So an AI agent will never lie, right?
That we all can agree with.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think a lot of things get solved as soon as you start thinking about the possibilities of what AI can do, and do not restrict it by our own workflows or our own thinking on what, I'll again give an example, right? So when we first wrote a prompt about an agent, it said that the agent has to be always truthful, right? So you know what started happening? Every call the customer, I'll just relay a call. Sir, मैं श्रुति बात कर रही हूँ. आपने जो कार बुक की थी, which is WagonR 2019-20, 80,000 किलोमीटर driven, वो आप देखना आना चाहते हैं? फिर बोलेगा हाँ आना चाहता हूँ. सर, आपकी जो कार है WagonR 2015-18, 40,000 kilometers. So instead of like letting the agent know the guardrails, right, that you can't lie, right? What we start basically constrain it by saying is that you always have to be factual, right? And instead of like building agents which can self-correct, right? Instead of building prompts which can self-correct, we built a static prompt which does not have a feedback loop, and it is as bad as a human call.
Okay.
Right? So I think these are some of our learnings.
You know, I also want to shift focus to now a question. You know, boards today are asking a difficult question. You know, where is the return on AI? I want to know, how does CARS 24 measure, you know, whether an AI initiative has genuinely affected business value and has improved productivity? How are you measuring that?
So we are reimagining the business not from 27 perspective. We are thinking that what will happen in 2030, right? Every like 6 months and a new model comes, which is much more powerful. Which is much more cost effective as well. What we truly believe is that this investment will eventually pay off. Each of our agent is powered by the best in class model, right? This is again a mistake that we made earlier. We tried to like cut corners there, right? And eventually what we realize is that if you use the best model, the ROIs are far better.
So give us a use case where you've seen measurable impact.
So imagine all the inbound calls that we do currently, right? So here, say the conversion was X, we are already trending at 1.3X, 1.4X sort of, right? And again, whatever best model we are using right now, we already know that in 6 months hence, this model might be much cheaper, right? So I don't think it is fair to sort of put a value to it when we truly don't know what will be the eventual cost structure, right? So we are not like, we truly do not think like that. We are making a company for 2030. And for us, the window is so short. Somebody was saying that we have a company which is like, in the last panel, somebody was saying that we have a company which is like successful for the past 15 years. I think this is exactly opposite to how we think. We are very, very paranoid. We have been here for 11 years. What we think is that this is a make or break moment for a lot of companies which have very, very heavy cost structure, especially retail. Single digit EBITDA margins पे आप operate कर रहे हो. I think all the retail businesses are out to be disrupted. It's better to sort of disrupt yourself, right? And rather than be disrupted by somebody else.
Correct, absolutely. A very, very valid point there. You know, again, CARS 24 also launched CARS 24 Labs with a reported commitment of $20 million to build AI products and support early stage startups. Is the ambition simply to make the existing CARS 24 business more efficient, or could AI lead to products and revenue streams that the company currently doesn't have, and supposedly a new marketplace model might develop?
I think both the things are true. One is our existing model has the capacity to become far more efficient now. As I said, we are a very high involvement purchase category. We are basically a category where sales cycles are 90 days, right? So a lot of CRM is involved, a lot of calls, a lot of messages, and so on. I think we have an opportunity to sort of make it much more efficient. At the same time, scale can also be brought by, you know, so right from like the moment somebody comes to sell a car, the inspection could be AI-led, the pricing could be AI-led, the refurb could be AI-led, the sales could be AI-led. Eventually, like one thing which we have not been able to do right now, but we are trying, is physical AI at the hub. Can we have, like, we sort of keep imagining that, can we have a car advisor-less world where we have cars parked and people can come and then directly test drive those cars and speak to an AI agent and then basically get their fears sort of allayed and
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's clearly lots happening at CARS 24, but you know, one last final question that I'd like to talk to you about is, one of CARS 24's boldest moves has been simplifying organizational hierarchy as part of preparing for the AI era.
Yeah.
I don't know if you call it a flatland model, so to speak of. Why was removing hierarchy so essential?
I think there were 3 prerequisites to how we need to think about, like, at least how we are thinking about AI. One is that we need to attract younger talent, right? In the last panel, I was looking, there were a lot of gray hairs, right? But I think maybe 5 years down.
Clearly after us,
I think 5 years. Yeah, I'm also pretty old, but like at least this is what we are seeing. Some people say that, you know, it is going to be very difficult for the entry-level job candidates? I don't think so. These people are people who are born AI native, right? They're not scared of, like, they have nothing to lose.
True.
Right? Versus some people who are like in their 40s, 50s, thinking that, I have expertise and this and that, and I'm not replaceable. I think all of these structures get challenged as soon as you truly see what is happening on ground. The 20-year-olds are far more inquisitive. They are far more curious. They're far more risk-taking, right? And hence, we need to attract that kind of talent. Now, imagine if you have to attract that kind of talent, right? You can't have CBOs, you can't
Absolutely.
have CXOs,
Yeah,
you can't have Uparashtrapati, Rashtrapati, and so on and so forth, right?
But you do need a bit of experience as well.
Correct, but you can't have these designations, right?
Yeah.
Imagine in a meeting, people getting scared because of, who they're speaking to, etc. And imagine a young kid who's basically just out of, say, IIT. That kind of talent is what we want to attract, which is currently going to Silicon Valley. I think this has to be basically first principle backwards. I think a lot of these people need sort of a culture where they are free to they're free to take risks, they're free to, they have this license to fail. I think this is the prerequisite for it. So we need to attract the right talent, point number one. Point number two, again, I do not agree to the last panel in one more aspect. I think they said we need to have separate or dedicated AI teams.
Yes, AI leaders,
I think each of the team members now has to be an AI builder. There's no other role, right? If you're not able to if you're not able to build an agent on your own, right? I'm not a techie, right? But I build agents on my own. Currently, while I'm speaking to you, there's a recruitment agent which is reaching out to thousands of candidates on LinkedIn, right? It is able to reach out to them with the right context and so on, right? So I think there has to be only one designation which is basically builder, and all of them have to be AI native instead of having a dedicated team. So these two things I think were prerequisite for us, and hence basically the change in the org structure.
All right, okay. We've completely run out of time. It was lovely speaking to you. Thank you for being super candid and for your invaluable insights. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to our second panel of the evening, the growth equation where AI, data, and customer experience converge. Now, as customer expectations continue to evolve, organizations are increasingly turning to AI and data to create more connected, personalized, and intelligent experiences.
The first wave of digital transformation was about taking businesses online. The next is about making every interaction sort of more intelligent, using data to understand intent, AI to personalize experiences, and the technology to act on those insights at speed. But the real growth equation is more complex. Personalization must not become intrusive, automation must not erode trust, and AI investments must translate into measurable outcomes that we just discussed, and not just more pilots and platforms. So what makes this panel particularly interesting is the diversity of perspectives represented here: FMCG, jewelry, automotive, digital, healthcare, and enterprise technology. Now, the sectors may be different, but the central challenge is the same. How do you convert data and intelligence into better customer experiences and ultimately sustainable growth? So let's dive in. Samrat, let me start with you. Emami operates in a category where products are distributed at enormous scale, and but the company has historically had limited sort of direct interaction with the final consumer. How are digital channels, first-party data, and AI changing the way an FMCG sort of company understands its customers?
Well, I think first of all, though we were a legacy brand, things are changing in the recent times.
Yes.
For example, we have acquired digital native brands over the last few years. I mean, brands like the Man Company, Brillare, they are now all part of Emami. On top of that, the entire GT or the general trade distribution channel, which still holds about 80% of the market share in India, and will continue to hold, as per prediction, for the next 5 years, at least 75%. That was basically the frontier where none of the companies could actually crack, reaching out to the consumer. Even the retailer part was a big dark space, right? Now, I'll give you an example. For example, when the salesman goes and stands in front of the retailer and talks about our products, our new launches, and tries to sell that to the retailer, none of the person in the company knows what's going on there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a complete dark space. All that we knew so far was the order that was captured. Did the retailer really ask for those products? Did he ask for more products? Did the salesman just hurry and rush through that store just to visit the next one? Nobody knew. Mm-hmm. Things are changing, and things will change with the advent of AI. For example, you can actually now record conversations live while the salesman is having that, sales speech at the retailer. And real time, instantly you get to know, using AI, exactly what is the takeaway from that call, right? You know about what is your competition doing. Earlier, competition tracking was a massive exercise, right? Huge amount of manpower,
Sure.
Huge amount of spends. Nobody could afford to do it in a mass scale. Now, in a matter of seconds, you actually get to know when the guy is talking to the retailer and asking, hey, what did, Marico ka kya price chal raha hai? You instantly know that, right?
Correct.
I mean, without AI, this was never possible. And it'll evolve, right? I mean, absenteeism is a very big problem in retail, especially in CPG, right? If you guys can take a guess, what is the percentage of, absent MRs or sales reps on a particular day? Anybody can take a guess, right? In our office, what is the percentage of employees absent? 2%, 3%? Retail, every day, it is 10 to 15%. So out of my 4,000 salesmen, at least 800, somewhere between 500 to 800 don't show up on that day for various reasons. What happens to the stores that those guys were supposed to cover? AI solves that problem. You actually have agents calling up and actually mimicking, even doing better. The previous session Manoj was talking about, I totally agree. I mean, humans are more robots than the AI robots themselves.
All right. Okay, let me go across to Rahul now. Rahul, buying a car is rarely a linear journey, right? A consumer, of course, researches models, it sees financing options, talks to various dealers. How are you using AI to sort of connect this whole fragmented network and then finally realize where the customer is in the buying journey and the most likely assistance that they need?
I think one thing to realize is the car buying journey is a very complex journey. For example, in terms of car, it is between 30 to 90 days. Bikes also go from 15 to 45 days. And this journey is not linear, right? It's fragmented. Users don't come every single day. And there is a lot of back and forth. So that journey itself is very complex. So the stand that we took when we were designing the product, which will bring all cross-functional teams together, is product does more, user does less. So that is a power that AI gives, right? With data and AI. So then how does it translate? So when it translates, most of us think of CarDekho as an information website. Now we are moving away from information, where we are saying that we'll help the user in decision making, not just information. So that's one. Second, what we've realized is that the journey is very fragmented, as you rightly pointed out, right?
Yeah.
Some is online, some are your friends, some are YouTube, Instagram, etc. So this fragmented journey, to stitch it together, for the first time, we are able to bring, earlier we used to put humans to call and act like a concierge. Now we are able to build domain-specific agents. So we have voice and chat agents which interact with the consumers and stitch that journey. Lastly, not just on the buyer side, on the seller side also, we are able to deploy these capabilities and create a pull from there.
Yeah, and how do you really sort of distinguish between a genuine purchase intent from just casual browsing, so that personalization is sort of useful rather than just being, premature or persistent?
For us, I think we call that as buyer actions. Over a period of time with data, we have been able to identify not just, earlier we used to get data. Now with AI and the intelligence layer on top of it, we are also able to humanize data. Because of the humanization, we are able to map a simple framework just to explain, every buyer comes with a job that he has to get it done. Earlier we used to get data, but mapping it to a job was very difficult. Like job could be comparing a car or a variant. What in variant is he getting stuck? That has become supremely better for us. So that's one of the key reasons, yeah.
All right, okay. Now, today more than half of today's shoppers research products online before making a purchase in store, even in high involvement categories. As a customer, journeys becomes increasingly omni-channel. Kalyan, for you, how has that sort of changed your approach to personalization? How has it changed? Where do you sort of draw the line between being relevant and then being intrusive?
I think with a lot of all the panelists from the previous one and here we had some conversation before also, the understanding of the customer is the most important thing. Because today's customer, I sit in a place where the industry is extremely niche. There is a repetition of customer which happens on a regular basis. There is 3 very important values drive the customer, which is trust, sentiment, and emotion. Because, and the most important thing which out of all of that is the value what they get. When the customer walks into one of the stores at GRT Jewellers, he goes back with an experience of buying a jewelry. I come from banking, I have worked with European retail, I have worked with US retail. When I moved into this role, the first thing which I did was I went back to the drawing board. Because learning and unlearning in every aspect of the journey of the customer and also the product. I realized that technology is not something which the customer is interested in when he walks into my store. He's the biggest thing which the customer is looking for, and the hero of the store is going to be the product. And it was one of the most important thing for me to change that, because there is not supposed to be any screens which the customer is interested in, too much of digital. He wants to experience the product, and I need to empower the customer with the information on the product, and also the person who's selling has to get the data or the information on the product as soon as possible, so that the experience of the customer is really good.
And also for the person who's selling to get that data and not be overwhelmed by that data, because there is too much data now. Right?
Because the customer walking into the store today, especially in jewelry, there is so much of information available on the social media, friends, family. They look at everything. Before they come in, they know what they want or what kind of a design they want. So when they walk into the store, thankfully, God's grace, we've always been able to surprise the customer with more designs and much more better experience for the customer, because by the time he walks out, he has an experience. I just want to share one very small story, which is from my chairman's time when he was running the store. In Tamil Nadu, rural Tamil Nadu, when someone buys a Mangal Sutra, there is a tradition wherein a full family comes in to buy a Mangal Sutra. The ticket size of the sale is not too much. It's probably going to be some 10 grams or 15 grams or something like that. But one of the stories what I was told is that a full village or a full community of 80 people walked into my store just to buy one Mangal Sutra, because it's a tradition of them. The store sales guy got surprised when 80 people walked into the store, and immediately he went to the chairman who was sitting there, and he said, sir, there are 80 people who have come in. We have to prepare everything. He said, okay, so the condiments which are offered when you walk into a GRT store is you are offered a coffee, tea, or a cool drink. So the sales guy was going to ask him whether I should offer it to all of them. He said, no matter what happens, you just make sure they're comfortable, they sit there, and they all are treated with the same respect with the whole customer, everyone there. So after the sale, the 80 people walked out of the store, not as the people who came in, because they walked out as GRT customers. And I'm told that that community still comes into the same store whenever there is an emotional purchase, whenever there is an occasional purchase, and they still are very, very happy walking into the store every time.
Thank you for sharing that wonderful story with us. Srijesh, let me go across to you. You know, Practo has evolved from just helping patients find doctors. Now you're a digitally connected healthcare ecosystem. As CPTO, how do you decide which AI-led innovations will improve healthcare outcomes, apart from, which will simply just add another layer of technology without sort of solving any underlying problem?
Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, it's a very relevant problem. I think I get pitched with like some 12 ideas around AI on a Saturday from my team.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, one of the things that we have done is we have come up with like a groom and kill framework. So what we do is like, hey, why are we here? Practo's mission is to help all of us and our loved ones live healthier and longer. And whatever you are suggesting, does that make sense with the mission that we have? Now, that's for sure. Then somebody could say that, hey, we could build the next GLP drug, right? But then there is the kill criteria. We're not in the life sciences business. So it's very important for us to choose projects where better health outcomes for patients is derived. And so that's our key mission. And we generally try to bring every idea to be grounded with that principle.
All right. Moving to something that I discussed in the first panel as well, which is that, one of the biggest challenges today isn't AI adoption, it's proving business value. And more than half of companies today still don't formally measure the ROI of their AI investments. Biswajit, what metrics should companies or leaders be tracking to know whether AI customer experience investments are actually driving growth?
So I think I'll gently push back on the framing. Right?
Okay.
Because I hear this a lot. It's not that our companies aren't measuring ROI. I just think of it as they're measuring the wrong thing at the wrong time. Right? Most teams have the tendency to jump directly into measuring the financial ROI on day one. Right? I think the first step is to see whether AI or that specific instance of AI is actually changing behavior.
Yes, because everybody just wants to be there.
Right?
Yeah.
Because value always follows behavior, and therefore it always also lags it. Right? So I tell leaders that don't hunt for that one ROI number. Instead, track 4 linked matrices, because AI value generally comes in a sequence. The first one is adoption and trust. Are people using it? Do they trust it? So therefore, look at usage rates, look at repeat usage rates. Somebody said on the panel before, are you using it yourself? Look at override rates. I think, how many times are humans overruling an AI decision? I think a falling override rate is a great lead indicator of saying we are building trust on whatever AI we're using, right? The second is experience quality. Is this changing the experience for customers internally, externally, right? And is it measurable in any way? So look, you could say whether it is first contact resolution, compression of cycle times, however you look at in your own businesses, however do measurability, right? So that's there. But specifically for those AI touch journeys, not blended with everything else. The third is operational leverage. Are we able to do more with the same or less?
Correct.
Right? So therefore, is cost to serve better? Are we doing containment rates better, and so on and so forth, right? Because this is where it actually hits the P&L. It doesn't hit the P&L before this.
Okay,
right?
All right.
And the fourth is growth and retention, in the sense of saying, is this helping move the needle for my business? So therefore, the mistake is jumping to 4 without having 1 and 2, because then you're just misattributing noise. And so the answer to your real question in my way is track experience and trust before you track dollars. Right? Look at adoption before you look at efficiency, and never report an ROI number which does not have attributable control groups, because then you're just misattributing a number, a correlation to which you're very emotionally close.
All right, very, very well put, Biswajit there. Pranav, let me come to you. You know, PharmEasy has been adopting AI-first approach to sort of reimagine digital healthcare experiences. What I want to understand is, what does being AI native in healthcare mean really? Which parts of the patient journey actually can be intelligently automated, and which parts require greater caution than they would in, let's say, conventional e-commerce? So how would you not compromise patient trust?
Correct. So I think there are multiple pieces to it. So, first of all, in healthcare, it is not a retail, right? It is not a shopping, right? You don't go and shop, right? So that is the one important piece in the journey, which is very different from the commerce. Now, the second part is, what we are changing. And in healthcare is by design a conversational, right? You want to ask, you want to talk, right? I think this new generation of AI has enabled that very well, that, you can express a lot, you can talk, I have headache, I have a hair fall, right? I moved from this city and this is happening, what should I do? And that is where AI can help you a lot. The one important thing which we are doing is basically 4 corners, right? So corner number 1, doctor, diagnostics, medicine, and care. Okay. And disease by disease, right? Because this is not a common thing, right? So disease, diabetic, this combination is very different. Heart patient, this combination is very different. Malaria, this combination is very, very different. So now you are building those frameworks using AI and then personalizing it for the consumer, right? So I think that is one thing. The second important thing which we are doing, and this is the experiment at this point in time, we have built something called Swasth, right? So Swasth is the AI which is a kind of a digital clinic, you can say, in a non-compliant manner,
okay.
Right? It's not a clinic for that matter, but it is available on WhatsApp. So you can, give any report, it can analyze, you can ask that this is what doctor said, what does it mean, right? I'm taking this medicine, whether these 2 medicines will interact with me or not. So that is the second thing, and it is democratized. So the idea is that, this framework, can it be democratized and reached out to billion people? The third important piece which we are doing is, little deeper inside. So, your tests are consistently telling you that your, sugar levels are constant, but you are taking a very high dosage of medicine. Why? Right? And then can you go and speak to your doctor? And in the same sequence, what we are doing, we are creating a complete health loop that, hey, for 3 months you have not done your test, this disease requires you to test, you should meet the doctor.
Okay.
So this is the complete experience we are building.
All right. So let me move from healthcare to back to FMCG. And FMCG companies must draw insights from distributors, retailers, marketplaces, digital campaigns, and direct-to-consumer channels. But not all of these data sets are sort of owned by the brand or are available in real time. So, Samrat, let me ask you, how do you build sort of a reliable view of the consumer when so much of the buying journey takes place through so many intermediaries?
I think that paradigm is also changing.
Okay.
Because earlier it was mostly first-party data, which means your internal data that you used to rely upon, right? Now with a lot of information available out there, and when you're actually using those LLMs which have already consumed or being trained on a lot of external information, today we are doing that, and we are seeing the results where we are getting a lot more consumer insights than we could ever before, and in a very easy manner. And I think that will continue to be like this. I was giving an example in my earlier, thing that, the example of what the retailer is talking about. What the retailer is talking about the consumers, about the products, about the competition. There was no way one could capture that. Now there is a way to capture that. And I think it will all just keep on improving that particular part.
All right. Coming to you, Rahul, we discussed that how a customer researching a car today moves across multiple touch points. We spoke about dealers, financing options, all of that. Tell me, where do hands-off most often break down? And not because of technology, but because the way of the organization is sort of structured. Or have you had instances because of technology as well?
I think handoffs are a problem because the journey is so fragmented, as I said. For us, I think one big gap that we have, a chasm that we have, is the online to offline jump, right? Because the research happens on our platform, but the actual buying decision happens offline. And we would want to have influence on that decision. So, and as I mentioned the last time, I think that is one thing that we have been trying to plug in. And data has helped a lot because for the first time, what we have done is that we have collected all the data sources of our company, made it into something called the most primitive form of AI, MCPs. And now because of that, not humans, agents are able to now plug that bridge. So where they take the handoff of the user on the website or on the app, understand his research journey, help him through a voice call or through a WhatsApp, and then also help him with the offline convenience, which dealer to talk to, what should I ask, what are the offers available, so all of that. So that bridge has also happened, and we are able to do it at scale just because of AI.
All right. Sujesh, much of the discussion in healthcare using AI is centered around patients, but doctors and healthcare providers also are equally important users of the technology. So where can AI sort of make the most immediate difference for, let's say, clinicians, reducing their administrative work, so to speak, organizing patient history, clinical decisions, or simply just allowing doctors to spend more meaningful time with patients?
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of my biggest frustration points every time I visited a doctor, that, you take an appointment at 10 a.m., but you probably end up meeting the doctor at 11.
Yes.
And that too for probably like 3 minutes, right? So I mean, it's a mission that I very strongly connect with. So, I mean, at Practo, what we have really done is we're essentially building clinical automation solutions at this moment. Largely, there are 3 steps in this journey. The first one, like you rightly called out, right, which is the administrative stuff. There's a lot of administrative stuff that happens, which is starting from, understanding, vitals, to the documentation, to everything else that follows. And all this before you even reach the doctor. Then when you hit the doctor is busy spending. So what we have done is we have kind of tackled this using, I think, pretty much a common theme. There are voice agents, there are chat agents, etc., that are now driving this piece of the whole puzzle. The second thing is when you hit the doctor, what does the doctor do? The doctor doesn't know anything about you at this moment, unless he's your brother or somebody from the family. Right? So he's basically busy scribing, right? And then he basically tries to document all the stuff. And then he'll probably ask you a question or two, and then he's busy scribing the medicines, right? And then, so there is no lifetime health memory of a particular patient that has walked in, including no history or record of their family, the illnesses that are there, or anything of that sort. So there's very little context when you hit a doctor. The second thing that we are building is we are basically building out a clinical decision support system, which will essentially educate, and we are not trying to replace doctors. Our goal is that, hey, they are the experts, but we want to cover the blind spots that they have, right? So we may, or maybe bring in some net new research that exists out there, which they might not have yet caught up on. So we bring that too. And then the third thing is essentially leading to the patient and the doctor spending more time, which is what I always wanted, basically.
Yes. And, Pranav, let me get to you. Health data is, of course, very different from the other forms of customer data because the misuse can have serious consequences. How do you deliver relevant, personalized healthcare experiences while ensuring that the consent is meaningful, data use is sort of transparent, and recommendations do not cross that unsupported clinical advice?
So you're right. I mean, apart from the data security, privacy, and so on, right? All these models are tested very heavily, right, on the medical side, right? Whether the authentic sources are being used. Doctors do a lot of testing before we recommend something. We have built a lot of ground rules, like Anthropic is famous for constitution. We have built very similar stuff, right? If something crosses this breach, don't recommend. Right, and the third important piece is you explain, why this, right? This is what, because in many cases you may not have full data also, right? So why are we saying this? Please go and consult with doctor.
Okay.
Right? So these three things are very important for
All right, Kalyan, coming to you, you know, luxury has traditionally been built in human relationships and expert advice. Now, as AI becomes part of the buying journey, which it has, from recommendations to you have virtual consultations, where should technology stop and human touch take over?
As I was talking about the previous story, right? My challenge started from there. When I started implementing, looking at various options, various AI-based solutions, we had to build upon all the data we have for 65 years of journey and bring that to a reasonable shape for that to add to more value for my backend teams, not directly to the customer. Because all I have understood right now and what we know is that when the customer walks in, he wants to see the latest, greatest, and the best fashion available in the market. Yeah. And for me to empower my backend teams with the customer journeys which were done in the past to the future of how my Gen Zs and the next generation of customers, when they walk into my store, how do they want my store to feel like? We have now implemented something in a new brand we have launched for lightweight jewelry called Oriana, which is there in Bangalore, in Jayanagar. So in that, the experience of the customer walking in is completely different than my traditional store because this is smaller in format, lighter on the pocket, really good in designs, all natural and everything. So the Gen Z customers, when they walk in, they come with a preconceived budget. They know what they want. So you can't try to cross-sell them a lot or upsell them a lot. So my idea
could have a reverse effect, yeah.
So for me, it becomes more important that I remove all the noise for my sales staff in the counter, that they don't have to navigate some computer and all of that. So we implemented a very minimalistic screen technology in the store, wherein they just use a very small mobile device to do estimation and everything, so that the time spent with the customer is much higher than them trying to navigate anything on the IT machinery.
Okay, we barely have a minute to go, but you know, I'll quickly do one last round of questions, like a rapid fire. 3 years from now, this is for everyone, 3 years from now, what will be the clearest sign that your organization has sort of successfully brought AI, it has brought data and consumer experience together? Samrat, greater consumer intimacy or faster commercial decisions?
I think it's both. I mean, it has to be both. It cannot be the one or the other.
Okay.
If you don't have greater customer intimacy, you cannot have better commercial results, right? I mean, It has to be both.
All right. More convenient healthcare or better patient outcomes?
Better patient outcomes.
For sure. All right. Srijesh, less administrative work for doctors or more personalized care for patients? Both.
Both, yes. Yeah.
So, we all agreed on both.
Yeah, I know. Everybody is talking both. Kalyan,
the easy path.
A seamless omni-channel experience or a more empowered store associate?
A more personalized omni-channel experience.
Okay. All right, Rahul, a shorter buying journey or a more confident buyer?
A more confident buyer.
All right, so CC, I don't have both answers as well. Biswajit, more sophisticated models or more AI systems that are producing measurable business value?
See, more sophisticated models without the business value is like operation successful, patient dead.
Understood. Absolutely. Right? Well, on that note, it's time for me to wrap up. Many thanks, gentlemen, for your insights and for being so candid. Thank you so much for your time.
Up next, ladies and gentlemen, is a special address titled To Infinity and Beyond with AI. AI is rapidly reshaping how businesses innovate. As we all know, it is enhancing customer experiences and driving growth. As its impact continues to expand, the opportunities are virtually limitless. And to shed light on this and more, I now invite on stage Rajesh Uplapati, Chief Product and Technology Officer, Nykaa, for a special address. A huge round of applause for him, please.
First of all, thanks AWS, thanks CNBC for having me here. It's an absolute honor to be standing here in front of all of you on behalf of Nykaa and my technology team. To 2 years back, we embarked on this journey of pivoting from a digital native company to an AI native company. Like any journey, we sat down, we wrote our mission statement, we wrote down our operating tenets, we gave it a cool name, like you can see, to infinity and beyond. And more importantly, we have taken big goals. I was naive enough to sign up for some goals and went and declared not just to my board members, but to our investors as well. Obviously, the journey has been exhilarating. I'm here to share some of my learnings, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to those. I think quite a few of you would have been privy to this MIT research. In the same 2 years, $40 billion in investments on GenAI. MIT sent its researchers to find out what happened. And the most important metric, right? 95% of enterprises didn't see any measurable P&L impact. I mean, let's hold on to that thought for a second. Only 5% saw a meaningful P&L impact. And that's what we call as being in the rare air, the leg between the pilot to P&L, the hardest yard. Only 5% of enterprises are able to bridge that. And this is despite a lot of companies successfully piloting a lot of AI experiments, even seeing some good productivity wins, right? The real P&L impact has been hard to come by. Exactly a month ago, I was talking on Nykaa's Investors Day before all our investors. I was sharing our report card, all the audacious goals that we took 2 years back and where we stand now. And my investors believe we are on the right side of the edge. We are still climbing. But I'll share 3 concrete learnings in the last 24 months that this journey has taught me and my team. Okay, we'll start with the first learning. Let me introduce you to Priya, our customer. Priya is 26-year-old. She's affluent. She's Gurgaon-based. And she has done her skin scan. That's an AI feature on our app. The skin scan told her that she has acne, and she has recommended, how to use certain products, avoid certain formulations that might aggravate her acne, so on and so forth, right? We have a conversational shopping assistant. We call it Ask Nykaa as well. And Priya has told her that she is attending a destination wedding. If you observe Priya's story, Priya never told us what she wants. All through her journey on Nykaa, she has been telling us about herself one signal at a time. And it's our responsibility to listen to those signals carefully, interpret, and understand what exactly Priya wants. So the next slide, slightly busy, but that is what we call as our One Nykaa AI architecture. At the topmost outer circle are all our AI experiences that we have built, whether it is our skin analyzer or our virtual try-on for fashion. We have some obvious ones also, like we call it the beauty portfolio service, where we explicitly ask the customer what are their preferences. And then obviously we had some panelists also talk about inferring some of the signals. If you see the middle of the architecture diagram, that's what we call as our customer cube. And most of you would probably be able to relate to it. That's the place where we store close to 200 signals about each customer. All those signals are mathematically encoded, we call it the vector representation, as a single point in space that uniquely represents our customer. With each interaction, that point in space moves. Now on top of the cube, we have 3 in-house technologies that we built that I'm extremely proud of. There is a deep learning ranker It uses neural nets. There is a real-time inference engine, and there is a semantic understanding layer. Now, the deep learning ranker at this time can understand close to 170 signals about a customer and find very interesting non-linear relationships, which classical AI, ML was not able to, or it would have been extremely tough. For the simple reason that in real world, I think signals are non-linear in nature, and classical feature engineering, those of you who work with data scientists would realize that we try to force linear relationships, right, through a complex feature engineering process, which modern technology has completely made it super easy with deep learning. Let me bring that to life with an example, with the same Priya's example, right? With Priya's permission, we know that she's an outdoor person. We also know that, she's attending a destination wedding. We know that she has acne. Somewhere, the deep learning ranker is understanding that there is a subtle relationship between Priya being an outdoor person and she has acne, and she's looking for a certain occasion. And let's say we recommend a sunscreen for her based on her current location. And because Delhi is dry, we would probably recommend a rich moisture cream. But the moment Priya moves to, say, Mumbai to attend that wedding, suddenly it's changing, right, to a very humid place. And the complete recommendation changes. And that's the beauty of the ranker. Each skin scan enriches and makes our cube a little more powerful and sharp. Each virtual try-on trains the rankers. Each Priya makes the platform better for the next Priya. And this loop closes every single day. Let me talk about a very interesting learning, how sometimes you start with a goal, a metric, a KPI, and as long as the right metric is there, it drives the right behavior. I was naive enough to declare 2 years back to my investors and board that we will have 50% of the code to be written by AI. It was a great headline. It also generated great momentum initially. We were able to rally the teams, drive the right adoption, but pretty soon we realized that it's not doing anything good for our consumers. It's just that, tokens started getting burned, a lot of code was written, quality was probably dipping. More importantly, bottlenecks started shifting, right? From one part of software engineering to QA, then to product management, then to consumer research. And then we realized we got the metric wrong. We are not really measuring how many features we are adding to the customer and how are they benefiting. And we fixed the metric. We went and clarified it to our board. We took a more customer backwards goal, saying we'll measure ourselves in terms of how many features are we releasing to the customers with the same headcount, and how many of them are generating incremental measurable P&L impact as measured by A/B tests. And that did the trick for us. I'm super happy to share, by April FY26, we ended up with the same technology team generating 45% more customer features and a very significant measurable incremental GMV impact from those innovations. The third one is something that I get asked a lot. I'm sure all of you also face this question quite a few times, investors, board, your management, even today in a lot of panel discussions, where do you draw the line? When do you hand off something from AI? When does the human take? It was something that confounded me also a lot. And then we worked on our mental models. And this has been my biggest learning. I completely erased the line. There is no line where AI stops, or there is no line that says these are the kind of problems only AI should be solving and these are the kind of problems where human is. The way we look at it as a handover. Both of them exist, and the AI does what it's super good at, which is about processing massive amount of data, finding patterns. A lot of panelists also talked today about hyper-personalization. We just talked about figuring out nonlinear relationships. And AI is excellent at all of that. And humans are good at trust, right? You can recommend the right product, but for Priya, on her biggest day, she needs an actual human to tell her that she can go with that product. And that's where human trust comes. And the moment we started thinking of our ecosystem, our workflows in terms of a handover, it transformed the way we build experiences. Let me bring that to life with one simple example. We have a B2B business. We call it the Superstore business. This is apart from our B2C consumer app. And Ravi here is what we call as our BD, our salesperson. Ravi works 8 hours a day, and he has 2 competing jobs for the same 8 hours that he has. There is this one tactical job where he has to follow up with all the retailers, go and check on them, answer questions around their orders, when are they arriving, and if there is any specific product that's running out of stock, he has to check. Maybe the retailer says, I want a particular SKU at a particular discount, and he has to remember it and follow through. And then there is the more strategic part of his job, right? Sign up more retailers, earn their trust, get the first order, introduce them to new brands, introduce them to new SKUs. And somewhere in between these 2 roles, the follow-throughs and the promises, they die in the notebook. And this is the beauty of AI. AI is helping us solve the torso and tail problems. It is creating the scale that we couldn't do in the past. All the follow-ups, for example, in this case, Ravi comes, he leaves a voice note, the agent takes over from there, remembers that a particular retailer wanted a particular SKU at a particular discount, it monitors. The moment the SKU falls to that price and there's a favorable discount that the retailer wanted, it follows through at the most convenient time that the retailer wants, while Ravi focuses on what he does best. So in a nutshell, AI is helping us scale what we call as the routine, while human is scaling what we call as the trust. And together they work and create what we call as human plus AI. With that, I'm coming to the close of my presentation. To sum it up, my 3 powerful learnings, I think starting with investing in the right AI architecture. The number 2 is it's all about human plus AI. And the third thing is resisting what we call as proxies. You can always have a KPI and a metric, but when the customer anecdote differs from the metric, please be comfortable in going and redefining the metric. I want to leave you all with one powerful thought. This is something that has been grappling all of our minds. It has been in some of the panels as well. What exactly is a true moat in this AI era? Is it the LLMs? Is it the rented intelligence? Is it the AI architectures? Some of the stuff I talked about, the deep learning rankers, the semantic layers that we built. Is it the customer cube and the 200 odd points and signals that we have about every customer? Or maybe is it something else? Is it the trust that we built over the 14 years with Priya so that she can open her camera, click a selfie, share it with us comfortably, leave it to you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we've heard throughout the evening, the future of retail will not be defined by technology alone. It will be shaped by organizations that can combine AI, data, and human ingenuity to build businesses that are more agile, resilient, and deeply customer-centric. To share a few closing thoughts, may I now invite on stage Prashant Chaturvedi, Principal Client Manager, AWS, to deliver the closing note.
I wanted to start with a question what was asked to Jeff Bezos a few years ago. Somebody asked him that, what would happen 10 years from now? And Jeff, being Jeff, flipped this question around. Right? He said that nobody asks me what is not going to happen 10 years from now. What is not going to change 10 years from now? So, and we kept on hearing a lot of our customers on the panel talking about the same thing. Consumers will always want lower prices. They'll continue to want faster deliveries, personalization, more and more. We heard everybody, right from Swiggy, everybody talk about that. So if that is not going to change, we need to build our businesses around these durable factors, right? What is not going to change ever. And from that perspective, I think this is something this was a key takeaway, which I thought from which each of the panel members were talking about. And I was busy taking notes, I think like many of you. And I'll just talk about the themes which emerged for me. I think first one was to infinity and beyond. I think Rajesh talked about this particular, how Nykaa is reimagining using AI, how they're imagining the entire retail as such, the beauty retail. And they used a line from my favorite movie, Toy Story, right, to infinity and beyond. So, and taking the example of Priya, how Priya's journey can be much more personalized, how AI is actually powering Priya's journey on the platform and making it much more super personalized with these insights. Second theme was from co-pilots to AI native. I think Manoj from Cast 24, he was very, very candid when he was here about how everybody is a builder. All of us are builders, honestly. And how can we build agents to increase our own productivity and our own outcomes? So, and absolutely, being an AI native organization, I think the key thing is every decision, every consumer interaction has to be powered by AI. Third theme which emerged for me is that planning is being replanned. A bit of a tongue twister, but this is something which came from the retail planning playbook, right? With panel members like Vikram, Aushada, Amit, Nitin, and Satinder, talking about how AI-powered forecasting is actually turning the entire planning on its head. Earlier, it used to be pretty much predictive planning, that, okay, these are the scenarios, P90, P95, if you do this and this will happen. But now it is becoming much more prescriptive planning, that these are the things you should be doing, and this is the outcomes you should be gunning for. That takes me to the fourth theme, which is the growth equation, which was another panel where we had the leaders like Samrat, Kalyan, Pranav, Rahul, Shijesh, and Viswa. To me, the key takeaway from that very insightful talk or panel was that data tells you what customers have actually done. AI tells you what they are actually going to do. But growth actually comes from the courage when you take the decision, right? And Kalyan, thank you so much for sharing that story. That was a very nice story, actually, about how GRT took it to the next level. So what is AWS commitment here, actually, right? So AWS, if you look at all the brands who have been building, all the leaders who have been here and sharing their stories, our job is primarily to make sure that technology should never, ever come in the way of you achieving your dreams. That's what we typically stand for. The AI platform, the latest and the greatest AI models, the data, the infrastructure, that is all on us. The vision, the ambition, the what if, right? That is yours. And today, if any of the conversations has sparked any of the what if in your mind, we'll be very happy to partner with you to make it real. So with that, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Firstly, the speakers for being here and being very candid and vulnerable and sharing the stories with us. Second is to CNBC for giving us this forum. and to our partners who are out there and showcasing what is the art of the possible on AWS and for vertical use cases. And to each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much, Prashant. On behalf of AWS and CNBC-TV18.com, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope the ideas shared today inspire new possibilities, meaningful collaborations, and continued innovation. Thank you once again. You were a wonderful audience.
AWS presents The Retail Room, cracking the next frontier of growth.